Well, good evening, everybody. It's Thursday, December 18th, and it feels like all of a sudden there is a lot to talk about with the weather. Today was a dry day. It was a nice day. It was the last dry day we're going to see for a while, the last completely dry day that we're going to see for a while. It's not going to rain for 7 days straight, but we've got rain and eventually some heavy snow in the forecast for 7 days straight. Day by day, we're going to help you pick out when we're going to get some windows of dry time. But we're talking some big rain numbers and finally some big snow numbers too. Now that's towards the end of the 7-day forecast. Initially it is going to be rain in the Sierra, but we're going to talk about all of it. First we're going to talk about the timing. I think that's what's most important to a lot of us. I've got some holiday errands I need to run. I'm hoping to travel next week for the holidays as well. I'm sure you are too. Maybe you're welcoming family into Northern California. Maybe you got people driving across the state to come visit. Maybe you're doing that. We'll go over the best and worst days weather-wise to travel, especially for the mountains. We'll talk about how much rain, how much snow, any flooding concerns. We're going to look at that in more detail. Some of the called problem area creeks and streams. We'll look at some of the river gauges and just show you what I look at when I'm talking about those details on TV, certain tools that we look at here. We'll talk about snow levels. Of course, that's important in the how much snow equation. But yeah, this is going to be a really busy stretch of weather. Yours truly and the rest of the weather team, we're going to have our hands full for the next week, maybe week and a half or so. Already starting to get some questions on my Facebook page. Thank you. And if you're watching from the KCRA pages, I'm checking over here as well. So go ahead and post your forecast questions as they come in. Let's just acknowledge some of the questions that I've seen so far. Jared's asking for rain in Sonora. Ralph says we need the rain and more importantly the snow. Yeah, it's really good to start to see finally some good snow in the forecast. Timothy's asking about Elk Grove. All right, I'll answer those questions as we go through. I'm going to try and go in somewhat of an order here so that I can make sure I actually get to everything. I don't usually plan these out in too much detail, but today I actually did because there's a lot going on. Let's start with the timing. So to do that, we'll use the American model, the GFS. What I want you to keep in mind when I show you this is that this is one of our coarser models. By what I mean by that, some of the details are fuzzy. That's just how it works. If you want a forecast model that goes out for a week or two, your resolution's not going to be as good. If you want all the detail that we do get from some of our higher resolution models, they don't run out as far. We just don't have the computing power to be able to run a super high resolution model. So yeah, that's a little spiel about that. So not a ton of detail here, but I think enough detail that we can at least get the general idea across. I guess we'll start with tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be showery for the valley. It's not going to be a washout by any means. It is going to be wetter in the foothills in the Sierra. If you're watching from the foothills tomorrow, maybe about a ½ inch of rain, Nevada City, Grass Valley, Auburn, up into Quincy, Oroville. Sonora, you could pick up a ¼ of an inch of rain later in the day, but valley rain total is probably less than a ¼ of an inch. A lot of places less than a 1/10 of an inch of rain. But it is just rain over the Sierra summits tomorrow. It's going to be windy though. Not in the valley. There's going to be a little bit of a breeze in the valley. You'll notice it, but the wind is going to be stronger over the Sierra. This is 8 o'clock Saturday morning. This is what I was talking about by the resolution not being great. This isn't likely a big glob of rain. This might be some light drizzly rain showers on the west slope of the Sierra, but I think the valley will be dry at that point. But look at this. You've got the wind arrows here, and you got this big blob of green. That's the beginnings of our atmospheric river storm that's coming in, a storm with moisture from an atmospheric river. This is 7 o'clock Saturday evening. This is when the rain actually starts to pick up in earnest. So the first half of the day on Saturdays can be better for getting out than the second half. But if you got plans Saturday evening, bring the umbrella. It'll be fine. We're not going to see flooding. But as we get into Sunday, there's that atmospheric river, that fire hose of moisture. This model shows it pointed at the San Joaquin Valley. So Sunday, the rain may actually be a little bit heavier in the San Joaquin Valley as compared to the Sacramento Valley, but it is going to be raining up and down the west slope of the Sierra from Plumas County through Tuolumne County. But again, on Sunday, that snow level's above the passes. So it's going to rain like heck in the Sierra on Sunday, but no snow yet. Here is midday Monday. This model once again showing the best moisture in the San Joaquin Valley, at least at this point. But watch what happens through Monday. By Monday evening, this starts to lift to the north. So this is what I mean by as we get closer, we're going to be able to pick out dry times for more specific areas. Half the valley may be dry for part of Monday, while the other half is dealing with soaking rain, and then this thing moves northward. We may get into some snow here Monday night into Tuesday. I think most of it's going to be above the passes, but it may get a little bit sloppy over Donner and Echo Summit Monday night. We've been talking about this too for a while. Tuesday looks like it's actually going to be kind of a lull, at least for our specific viewing area. For Sacramento, for Stockton, for the foothills, especially south of Highway 50, for the Tahoe area. Because you follow the wind arrows here, the best moisture is going to be pointed northward. So Tuesday is going to be a really wet day in Humboldt County. It's going to be a really wet day in Trinity County, Mendocino County, Sonoma County, and up the coastal hills, the Sacramento Valley, the San Joaquin Valley, and the foothills getting a needed break. That break is important. It's going to allow our creeks time to recede, and it's going to prevent serious flooding concerns through the second half of the week. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But Tuesday night, this is overnight Tuesday and Wednesday, there comes another batch of heavy rain, and this is Wednesday morning. So Christmas Eve morning, that is finally some heavy snow, likely heaviest above 6,000 feet, so King Vale on up on Interstate 80. That snow level may come down to about 5,500 feet. So getting somewhat close to Blue Canyon on Wednesday. Again, this is the coarseness of this model, not really showing this well, but I do think at some point on Wednesday there's going to be a little bit of a breather. But then Wednesday night into Thursday, there's another heavy round of rain, some strong winds possible with this as well. So Wednesday into Thursday is where winds will become a concern. And there's the heavy snow, even on the east slope of the Sierra. This could be when the snow level drops down, say below 5,000 feet for a little bit. And then even Friday. This isn't quite as intense as what we'll see Thursday, but still snow going in the mountains and showers left over for the valley. That is a lot to digest. So let me try and break it down into more digestible bites. Friday and Saturday, it's showery. It's not a widespread soaking rain. It's not a rain that's going to prevent anybody from going anywhere, doing anything. But Friday and Saturday are days where, especially in the afternoons, if you have outdoor plans, have the umbrella, leave yourself extra time, know that the roads are going to be wet, that sort of thing. Wind is not going to be a problem on Friday or Saturday. Sunday and Monday, those are going to be wetter days, but I showed you that hose of moisture. It's relatively narrow. So for the valley, there's going to be times on Sunday and Monday where you can get some dry windows. As we get closer, we'll help you pinpoint those a little bit better. If you are in the foothills or the Sierra, Sunday and Monday are going to be just all day, wet, breezy, just kind of yucky, atmospheric river kind of days. That's where the rain will really start to pile up. Tuesday's our break. Wednesday into Thursday, our Christmas Eve, Christmas Day storm, that storm's going to have more of a punch. It's going to have more cold air, it's going to have more wind, it's going to have a lot of snow, and it's potentially going to have quite a bit of rain as well. It's a lot to digest. Again, we've got a summary of all the details posted at kcra.com, so if you want everything written out for you, it's there. Also on my social media pages too. Let's see. Regina on the KCRA Facebook page, when does the snow start and what elevation? So I just kind of briefly went through that. I'll get into snow in more detail, but Regina, snow's going to stay above the passes, I'd say, through Monday. We may start getting hints of it on Tuesday, but there's not going to be a whole lot of precipitation in general on Tuesday in the Sierra. It's Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, and probably Friday as well. That's when it's going to be snowing, certainly above 6,000 feet. As we get into Christmas Day, the snow level may drop down to 5,000 feet or snow, but it could really be snowing hard up and over the summits, especially Wednesday and Thursday, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. If you can avoid driving around Tahoe, those are the days to do it. Friday may still be a little bit messy there too. But keep in mind, we're talking about day 6, day 7, and next Friday now being day 8. So room for this to change, but there's actually some pretty good agreement on this Christmas storm with the amount of snow, with the timing. When we see that kind of agreement among models, it gives us a little bit more confidence that that's actually what's going to be happening. All right, let's talk rain totals. I'm just going to give you the whole thing all at once. So this is how much rain we're currently expecting through next Thursday. So a week's worth. These are big numbers, but remember, for the valley especially, it's going to come in rounds. There's going to be breaks at times in the valley. I think that's going to prevent a lot of big issues. Could creeks in Sacramento County and San Joaquin County come up and cause some minor problems? By the end of the week, that's a possibility because the ground will be saturated by then. But look at these numbers in the foothills. Somebody asked about rain totals in Sonora. Of course, if you've lived in Sonora for a while, you know your elevation is what really matters. There's people that live at 2,000 feet that say they live in Sonora. There's people that live at 4,000 feet that say they live in Sonora. But up to a foot of rain, that's coming over, again, several days. That's a lot of rain. But for anybody that's watching that's not familiar with how the west slope of the Sierra works, there's a lot of real estate for all of that water to soak into the ground. Our waterways have plenty of room. Rivers, creeks, reservoirs, they've got a lot of room in them because we have not had rain for the past 4 weeks. Well, it's interesting. I was looking at Sacramento's water year so far. Even with the 4-week break that we've had, we're still above normal as far as rainfall goes since October 1st. So we're still doing okay there. What we really need is the snow. But yeah, these are some really big numbers. So let's talk about my approach to thinking as far as any kind of flood risk. I like breaking it down, especially if we're to get into any flood advisories or anything from the National Weather Service. There aren't any right now, but I like to break down what are we talking about when we say flooding, because there's different tiers of flooding, right? There's street flooding, which we know there's just certain intersections and roads that can flood very easily. Creek flooding, so minor stream, and then river flooding. This time of the year, with how dry it's been, rivers are going to be just fine. The water managers and the reservoirs, they're going to do what they do. Sacramento River is going to be fine. American River is going to be fine. Truckee River is going to be fine. We'll look at some of the other smaller waterways here in a little bit. But Sunday, remember, that's when the rain really starts to kick up. Monday, we're still dealing with that atmospheric river moisture, so street flooding, a little bit more of a concern. It's going to slow people down in some areas on Monday. Creeks, they will come up, not expecting them to flood on Monday. Rivers, again, fine. Tuesday, remember, this is where we get a lull. We get a break in the heaviest precipitation, especially on the west slope. That means creek levels can come back down, any street flooding can recede, but river levels are going to start going up as all of that runoff starts to end up in the bigger waterways. Next storm comes in Wednesday. Street flooding may return, creeks are going to swell again. And then as we get into Thursday and next Friday, this is where we see the chance for some of those creeks and streams, thinking Deer Creek, Dry Creek in Sacramento, Scott Road. This is when we'll be looking for that just because of the cumulative effect of all of that rain. The ground's going to saturate, eventually it's just going to start collecting in some places. So by the end of next week, creek flooding may be a little bit more of a concern if you live in a spot where you know it floods easily as we get into these rainy patterns. Use this weekend or use tomorrow when the weather's relatively quiet to maybe start making your preparations just in case, because you know how quickly those water levels can start to come up. But I want to take you to National Weather Service page where they actually do some water level forecasting for some of the major rivers around the area. So this is the California Nevada River Forecast Center. Each one of these dots is a river gauge. So a site where they're measuring the water levels on the rivers, they are forecasting water levels as well. You're looking at 10-day forecast. Green dots means we're all good. Anything in yellow means there is the potential for that waterway to get to what we call monitor stage. There's no flooding, but people that live near those waterways should start to take notice. Areas in orange, that is where minor flooding is expected. So this is the Napa River at St. Helena. There is a chance that we get some minor flooding in Napa County. Red dots, that's where bigger flooding problems start to become more likely. This is the Russian River at Guerneville. That could be an issue along the coast. This is the Navarro River in Navarro. That could also be a problem. So coastal flooding is more of a concern. But let's go in here and focus in on the valley. Let's use one of our kind of bellwethers where if we're going to see flooding in the valley, this is where we look. It's the Cosumnes River at Michigan Bar. So this is what one of those water forecast charts would look like. The black line is the forecast line of the height of the river itself at that gauge. You can see here this line, when the river reaches 7 feet at Michigan Bar, that's what they deem action stage, but flood stage isn't until the river gets to 12 feet. So here's Saturday before the rain starts. By the time we get to Sunday night, the water level's coming up quite a bit. By the time we get to, this is Monday evening, that's when the Cosumnes River is forecast to make its first crest. It'll be just above action stage. It takes until, I wrote this down earlier. Or we can scroll down here. What I like about these pages too is it tells you what it means. So at 8 feet, low-lying lands around the Cosumnes River at Michigan Bar begin to flood. So at 8 feet, that's where we would see some concerns. The current forecast stays below 8 feet, but these blue lines indicate where some models are showing the river may be exceeding that for a little bit. So for right now, the official forecast does not call for flooding early next week on the Cosumnes River at Michigan Bar, but if rainfall projections increase, we could see some low-lying flooding around that particular spot. So that was the Cosumnes River. Yuba River, again, also forecast to be at monitor stage over the next 5 days. The yellow dots you see here, these are following the Sacramento River. This is the Fremont Weir, action stage there. This is the Tisdale Weir, action stage there. Colusa Bridge and the Colusa Weir, also at action stage. What does it mean when the weirs get to action stage? It means the water is going to start to overflow some of those weirs and spill into the bypasses. It's exactly what it's supposed to do. So that's why there's no concern along the Sacramento River, because decades of water management and building up a flood control system, it's going to do what it's supposed to do. So we're going to see water in the Yolo bypass again. That'll be neat to see. Always fascinating to watch that go. All right, so there's some reassurance there with at least the major waterways in the valley. But if you have any friends or interests, or you're going to be traveling to coastal areas, this is where rain and flooding is going to be a problem into Sonoma County and getting into parts of Mendocino and Napa County. So you're up near Eureka, the Eel River at Fernbridge, expected to reach potentially major flood stage. So concern there. That's what happens when all of that rain falls in those hilly locations. It's all going to run off somewhere. Stuart says this will help fill the rain bucket. And no kidding. We're doing okay on rain. Snow is what we need to get to, and we'll talk about snow in a second. Larry says, still amazed with how people with technology cannot figure out how to see their in-laws. Treva is asking about weather tomorrow in Sacramento. So tomorrow's going to start dry in Sacramento. Once we get past, say, 11 a.m., we have shower chances. There'll be a little bit of a breeze. It's not going to be a washout of a day, but plan on showers from late morning into the early part of the afternoon. It'll be cloudy, it'll be cool, temperatures likely staying in the mid-50s. But tomorrow's going to be one of the easier days, relatively speaking, and so is Saturday. So if you have outdoor plans, you plan on a little bit of rain, but nothing that's going to totally wipe everything out. right, so we covered rain timing and amounts. Let's talk snow, shall we? This is the exciting part, at least if you're a skier like me. So keep in mind, these are early numbers. We don't usually release snow forecast this far out. This is Tuesday through Thursday of next week. We're talking about days 5, 6, and 7 from now. There's time for this to change. Honestly, there's room for these numbers to go up, but this is feet of snow over the summits. We're going to fine-tune these snow levels, and we will see accumulation at 6,000 feet. We may see accumulation down to 5,000 feet. Those are numbers we can nitpick a little bit better as we get a little bit closer. And I'll show you how the snow level is going to progress here in just a second. But this is the snow that we need, that the resorts need, that the snowpack certainly needs, because the snowpack right now, here's the latest snowpack numbers from the Department of Water Resources. The number on the right is what I pay attention to this time of the year, the percent of normal for today. 12% of normal water in the snowpack right now for the Central Sierra. A little better there in the South Sierra, but 40%, and just 4% in the North Sierra. So we are way behind, but feet of snow is going to help make up for that deficit. Coming just in the nick of time there. Snow levels. Again, this is a generalization. We use Interstate 80 as a benchmark. Number one, Interstate 80 is the most popularly traveled mountain pass, at least around Tahoe. I know the passes around Shasta, up I-5 North. I think there's going to be some issues up that way as we go into the end of next week as well, just with the snow level dropping. We can talk about that a little bit more a little bit later. But as a general guideline, Sunday and Monday, snow level 7,500 feet plus. Donner Summit is at something like 7,200 feet. So Monday, the snow is just above Donner Summit. I think we'll see some wet flakes and maybe some slush Monday night. But I'd say starting Tuesday, expect chain controls, but remember Tuesday is where we kind of get a lull in the snow showers anyway. Tuesday night into Wednesday, that's when the snow is likely going to start bombing away in the Sierra. Snow level down to 6,000 feet, probably dropping below 6,000 feet on Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday are days, if you don't have to be driving in the Sierra, I wouldn't do it. If you don't have to be driving over Donner Summit, Echo Summit, over the Carson Pass, don't do it. We will certainly see long delays. We could even see closures over the passes if that holds true, and that could last into Friday, the day after Christmas as well. So skiers and riders, I'm one of them. I'm not going to be in town next weekend, but next weekend could be really sweet for skiing and snowboarding if the current forecast were to hold true. If you were hoping to go skiing or riding on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, that's not my kind of skiing weather. I mean, it's going to be snowing hard at times. It's going to be tough to get around. My advice to you, if you're in the Valley or the foothills, don't try to drive up there on Wednesday or Thursday. Getting up there on Tuesday is going to be much easier. Getting back down or up the hill is going to be much easier next weekend. But if this forecast holds, and if you want to get to the resorts, first of all, you're going to have a lot of company next weekend if this current forecast holds. If you're trying to get up and over the summits and you have no interest in skiing or riding, you're just trying to go about your business, there's probably going to be a lot of traffic going over those summits next weekend, because there's going to be a lot of skiers and riders that want to try and get up there. So just keep that in mind. So that's all good to see there. All right, let's flip through and see how many other questions we've got. Vicki in Oakdale is asking about high winds. Wind is something that, it's our higher resolution models, especially for specific locations, tend to do better with that. I will say through Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, Vicki, I'm not expecting high winds anywhere in the lower elevations. The wind is going to be focused in the Sierra. As we get into Wednesday, Thursday, that's when the valley winds could increase. That's where we could see some gusty winds on the east side of the valley as well. It's too early to talk about how strong those winds could be. So Vicki, I'll keep your question in mind. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have questions about the wind next week. But again, that's something we can get into a little bit better. But Wednesday and Thursday do look like potentially windy days for the valley and for the Sierra too.
Oh, wow, he's game over. Seattle's all that's right. That's right.
David on the KCRA page says the resort should be pleasantly white for skiing. Yeah, by next weekend, if this forecast holds, that's going to be looking really good. All right. Larry says take Highway 70 for the non-skiers. The scenic route. Yeah, it is going to be wet up that way though. All right, so we've covered the timing, we've covered the amounts, we've covered river non-flooding, at least for the valley and for the foothills. Creeks, streams, those are something we're going to have to just monitor day to day. There are no official forecasts for, the creeks in Sacramento County, the creeks in San Joaquin County. That's something we do on a day-to-day basis, just depending on how much rain we see. We talked about snow, the snow level, the amounts, at least the kind of the broad view. We'll get more specific next week, but wow, I mean, the weather team, we've been sitting here for the last 3 or 4 weeks just kind of twiddling our thumbs, waiting for something, and now, of course, our busiest week yet this season comes during holiday week. When we've got some people off, when people are trying to travel, just how it goes sometimes. But it is nice to see the rain and snow coming back around. It usually tends to do that. Well, thank you for joining me for this little live chat. Remember, you can follow me on my social media feeds. I'm going to be posting regular updates there. Anybody on our weather team, you can follow them for good information as well. KCRA.com, keep checking back. We're going to update our latest forecast information at least twice a day. And of course, as we get into storm coverage, we'll be sending out how much rain, how much snow, photos, all that good stuff. We'll be sending that out online as well. And I think that about does it for tonight. Thanks for joining me. I'll be on TV tonight at 10 and 11. I'm back again tomorrow. Maybe we'll do another one of these tomorrow, depending on how things are looking. I'll do my best to keep you updated through the weekend, and then I'll be back for all the fun next week. But have a good night. If you're traveling over the next couple of days, be safe. Happy holidays. Enjoy your time with friends, family. Enjoy your time to yourself, however you prefer to spend it. But got a lot of rain and snow to talk about, so hopefully everybody stays cozy and stay safe.